But you can't say that. That's a violation of free speech.
Oh, yeah, about that. Speech, it ain't free no more.
What? It's not free no more?
Yeah, we're charging by the word now.
You're charging by the word? How much are you charging?
It depends on what you want to say. Like, you want to say something nice about the president's beautiful, thick yellow hair, or how he can do his makeup better than any broad. That's free.
Okay.
Robert Niro does more than merely make fun of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. He transforms them into a blooper reel with a cinematic feel, where the heroes think they're trying out for the role of heroes, but the casting director keeps making fun of them as they leave the stage. The drama of a failed strongman clutching to applause is provided by Trump, the present president, while Vance offers the comedic relief of a sidekick who misinterprets tactics. They function more as a buddy comedy, where the audience leaves midway through than as a political collaboration.
The president has had himself appointed head of one of our premier cultural institutions. He has cut funding and support to the arts, humanities, and education. And now he has announced a 100% tariff on films produced outside the U.S. Let that sink in for a minute. You can't put a price on creativity, but apparently you can put a tariff on it. Of course, this is unacceptable.
Please click the bell symbol and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying this video. Niro targets Trump first, destroying the leadership fiction that the president is frantically trying to promote. He presents him as a man who acts like an improv performer when governing, never practicing, always ad-libbing, and certain that the critics will deem it brilliant. But Trump gets a steady stream of eye rolls in place of Oscar nominations. Niro uses each slip-up as evidence that the purported genius is indeed winging it. Additionally, the outcome appears less like a presidency and more like a blooper reel.
Stupid. He's a punk. He's a dog. He's a pig. He's a con, a bullshit artist, a mutt who doesn't know what he's talking about, doesn't do his homework, doesn't care, thinks he's gaming society, doesn't pay his taxes. He's an idiot. Colin Powell said it best. He's a national disaster. He's an embarrassment to this country.
Next up is J.D. Vance, a figure who first opposed Trump but changed to become his staunchest supporter when ambition whispered in his ear. The irony is not lost on Niro. He calls out Vance's political reimagining as a performance so implausible that it passes for amateur theater. The main target of derision is Vance's transition from Trump skeptic to Trump follower, depicted as the sort of awkward story twist that would be rejected even by soap operas. Vance isn't a strategist in Niro's opinion. Despite his inability to recall his lines, he is an understudy who passionately wants the lead part.
That if he were to win again, and I'm not saying this like it's such a far-fetched notion, if he were to win again, that he would not give up power?
You know he won't. You know he won't. He even said it. He's never going to give it up. And anybody who deludes themselves in thinking that he is.
Niro's next target is Trump's unending fixation with appearance. The current president's gold-plated illusions, incessant demand for adulation, and rallies that resemble successive Broadway revivals are all evidence that he confuses entertainment with governing. By depicting Trump as a waning performer dependent on his own news clippings, Niro makes a strong point. Someone who thinks spectacle replaces results and volume equals authority. Since every exaggeration already seems real, the comedy works.
Is at risk in this election?
I think that it is. I always keep saying democracy is great, of course, but democracy people take for granted. It's a word that some people don't even understand. They take it for granted. It's about right and wrong, period. The guy's a monster. He is beyond wrong. It's almost like he wants to do the most horrible things that he can think of in order to get.
Vance is criticized, on the other hand, for lacking creativity. Niro draws attention to the way the senator from Ohio repeats Trump's talking points, like a hype guy who is unaware that the crowd is there for the main attraction. All of the speech sounds the same. Every position appears to be borrowed. Every action taken in public appears to be planned to emulate Trump's bellicosity. He is attacked by Niro as the political counterpart of a cover band. Loud, tenacious, and eventually forgotten as the actual thing exits the stage.
Silly.
It's not necessary?
No. It's just a, as everybody says, it's just the Trump with his big ego saying, I want a wall. And he's going to be obstinate until he gets, it's all stupid. It's all stupid.
Additionally, Trump's brittle ego is a never-ending source of material. Niro enjoys each and every tantrum, every effort to change the course of events, and every breakdown when the ideal isn't realized. He makes the president into a caricature of a mafia boss who demands allegiance, but breaks down the instant someone challenges his harshness. Niro's cynicism portrays him as a man who trips over his own shoelaces, but finds enemies everywhere. Power is framed in this way as a magnifying glass that exposes all insecurities rather than a source of strength. He makes fun of the senator's desire to repeat every boast, every insecurity. With the fervor of a fangirl in need of backstage passes, he mocks the senator's desire to echo every boast, every complaint, and every conspiracy. He is portrayed by Niro as a ventriloquist's dummy nodding along as the puppeteer rants, rather than as an independent voice. Vance's voluntary exchange of dignity for power is what makes people chuckle.
The former president, is that true? Do you have to use a teleprompter when speaking about President Trump? Or are you able to just kind of riff on your thoughts on him?
He's so...
Niro then returns to Trump's style of governance, likening it to a movie. Director who insists on improvising every scene, yet never reads the script. Members of the cabinet are viewed as expendable extras. The nation and its policies are like a stage set that can be moved about at will. The audience is made to see countless retakes of the same subpar performance, and Niro reveals that the outcome is chaos and less leadership. Vance is unable to get away. Niro mocks his attempts to come across as a policy thinker by pointing out that each idea seems like a cheap imitation of someone else's notion. He portrays Vance as the student in the class who replicates assignments, but still receives incorrect responses. Niro makes fun of the awkward handshakes, the misdirected bluster, the estrangement of allies, and the humiliating caving in to big men. He presents the current president as a traveler who is lost in another country, yelling at maps and feigning fluency in the local tongue.
It's gotten to this point that this fool, this bozo, has wound up where he has. He talks how he wants to punch people in the face. Well, I'd like to punch him in the face. This is somebody that we want for president? I don't think so. What I care about is the direction of this country. And what I'm very, very worried about is that it might go in the wrong direction with someone like Donald Trump. If you care about your future, vote.
Niro and the ridiculousness write themselves, magnifies it, disparaging the act of a man who leaves America alone on the international front while mistaking bluster for diplomacy. Vance's reputation abroad is not much better. Niro draws attention to his inexperience and his heedless acceptance of Trump's philosophy. He makes fun of Vance's attempts to sound knowledgeable about difficult subjects, while only using rhetoric that has been borrowed. It's the performance of a pupil who never read the book but knew the cliff notes by heart. Niro also doesn't tolerate the hypocrisy. The senator's desire to mimic Trump's views while pretending to be a statesman turns into one more recurring joke. When Niro concentrates on Trump's never-ending war on detractors, the humor gets more intense. Niro argues that Trump's lasting legacy is one of unending resentment rather than development or policy. The villain in a soap opera keeps repeating the same plot until the viewers get fed up.
Use their strength to push other people around. They think they can achieve power and hang on to it by intimidating others. Sadly, sometimes it works, but most of the time it doesn't. And now we have Trump. He's all that, about intimidation, retribution. He's going to prosecute. He's going to send you to jail for having an abortion. He's going to take your Medicare and Social Security away. He's going to deport you. He's going to send the military after you if you defy him. You know who this shit works on? The MAGA politicians who are afraid of losing their power. They're so afraid of him, he's got them kissing his ass. And now they're trying to intimidate us. We will not allow that, not even for a minute.
Once more, Vance is criticized for encouraging this culture of complaining. Niro makes fun of his readiness to defend Trump's tantrums, portraying him as the publicity man who applauds each outburst. It's the equivalent of applauding a fire while the house burns down in politics. Vance's adherence to Trump's victimization narrative turns into comedy gold since it reveals his readiness to forego credibility in order to win base support. Niro criticizes Trump's economic boasting as well. He mocks the inflated assertions, the selectively chosen data, and the incessant boasts of unparalleled accomplishment. Niro likens it to a failing actor boasting about a film's box office receipts. That went off. Trump himself becomes the punchline, and the humor revolves around the gap between rhetoric and reality, depicted as a salesperson attempting to market a product that everyone knows is ineffective. Vance's involvement in spreading such allegations is shown as being just as pitiful. In Niro's critique, the senator's eagerness to enhance Trump's image at the expense of uncomfortable facts serves as yet another example of how ambition may defy reason.
Family to a gangster family, which is something coming from you. What do you mean?
They are. Well, he because he thinks he's a gangster. He does everything like a gangster. I don't think that gangsters in that world would think much of him. Because in any...
According to Niro, Trump's legacy is less about accomplishments and more about showmanship. Rallies, catchphrases, and ceaseless merchandising are not indicators of leadership. Rather, they point to a brand that is fighting for survival. The current president is portrayed by Niro as a carnival barker peddling tickets to a spectacle that never materializes. The audience is left exhausted, dissatisfied, and somehow supposed to applaud despite the show costing more than the material it replaces. As the main performance falters, Vance is depicted as the carnival helper, shouting the chants and waving the flags. Niro mocks his function as merely a noise amplifier, a man who is so keen to take in the show that he overlooks the lack of admiration from the audience. Seeing someone abandon their profession to a circus and believe it's a symphony is what makes it funny. All rallies, headlines, and stage photo ops are desperate attempts to garner support. And Vance is right next to him. Instead of forging his own route, he clings to the limelight like a moth to an uncontrollable flame. The pairing is survival, not strategy. One requires ongoing validation, while the other requires ongoing proximity to relevance. The fact that Niro doesn't exaggerate is what makes the roast painful. He merely enlarges what is now on exhibit. Trump is the entertainer who never knows when to stop, prolonging his performance long after the audience has become agitated. Vance, the backup performer, takes obedience for strength and stillness for wisdom, confusing imitation with loyalty. They don't help one another in this dynamic. They denigrate each other, making the collaboration into a joke in which every action is satirical. When Niro portrays Trump as a president who controls the way an actor milks a monologue, the image becomes more clear. The tragedy lies in the fact that what ought to be leadership turns into farce, falls into practiced motions that are simply intended to prevent the spotlight from fading. Niro highlights the ridiculousness by drawing a comparison between what leadership ought to stand for and what it already stands for.
I want to do a joke like he's so fat he needs 2 seats on the Epstein jet. That's going to cost.
Can I just ask, just for clarity, because it's a pretty good joke, how much would that one cost me?
A couple of fingers, maybe a tooth, and...
A leader creates, motivates, and plots a course. Trump performs, exaggerates and alters history in order to establish himself as the all-time hero. Vance doesn't question the narrative. in the hopes that being close to authority may one day make him powerful. He memorizes his lines and watches for his cue. It never does. Rather than his beliefs, he is identified by his acclaim and his posture, not by his principles. The roast's accuracy is what gives it its severity. Trump appears to be a holdover from a stale performance as he clings to the stage. Someone who doesn't accept that the play is over and the crowd has dispersed. Vance appears to be the pupil who confuses imitation with mastery. He is eager to please, but lacks the ability to be creative. When combined, they are more of a parody of ideal governance than a partnership. Niro's roast is effective because it highlights the ridiculousness of prioritizing performance over morality, in addition to the shortcomings of two men. The end effect is such complete and pristine devastation that the only thing left is the hollow echo of conceit masquerading as leadership. A union that is known for its breakdown into mockery rather than its strength.